welcome back to this channel where we spread love and positive vibes. And I want to start by thanking our returning subscribers, our new subscribers. We appreciate you. We thank you so much. We can never ever take you for granted. This journey we started with you. Now we are almost to 4,000 subscribers and we really appreciate your support. So today I wanted to talk about something that I have noted in one of my videos, and actually people have been commenting about it, and I really wondered whether this is what is happening, and I had to do some investigation to find out whether that is what is happening. And this is when I actually brought to you a video about Jamaica becoming the next Dubai in the Caribbean. And by the rate at which the projects have started in Jamaica, the discoveries of gold, the discoveries of oil, and the hard work of the people of Jamaica, I was completely sure that Jamaica can transform to be the next Dubai. But people came in the comment section and they told me, R.A.M, I think that cannot happen because the projects you're talking about have been taken over by the Chinese. The Jamaicans on the ground do not benefit. And I thought, why not find out what is happening on the ground in Jamaica? I have seen in our nation, Kenya, the Chinese government coming to take projects, like there was a construction of Thika Highway. That is a road that starts from Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, to a region that we call Thika in Central Province. It also takes along what we call Mombasa Road, which is actually the road that leads to Mombasa, but it has not been completed up to Mombasa. It has been constructed part of it. The Chinese government or the Chinese people were actually the one who were given the project, and the common people in Kenya became the hardmen, the people to bring to them items, and there was at one time very rough with the people of Kenya. And therefore, when the Jamaicans came to the comment section and told me that these roads, these constructions are being given to the Chinese people, constructors or investors, I was interested to find out how far have these people gone to Jamaica and how far have they come to Kenya, and what is their intention? Their intention to come to Kenya or to go to Jamaica. That is what we are going to talk about today. And when I was doing my investigation, I got a shock of my life. Guys, I really wondered whether us as the people of Kenya, the people of Jamaica, really understand the meaning of independence, the meaning of freedom, because our forefathers fought until they sent their own blood so that we can be liberated from the colonial masters, so that we can be liberated from the hands of the oppressors. I talked about in one of the videos about how Jamaicans have spearheaded, have led in the liberation of people, in the equality of people, in the independence of people. And for sure, Jamaicans have been in the front line, and we would not want to see Jamaicans going to the colonial era, or even Kenyans and Africans going to the colonial era. And if we continue making the same mistakes, it seems like we are taking ourselves back to colonialism, to slavery, to a point where we will not be able to remove ourselves. What am I talking about? As I was doing investigation, I found that there is a lot of ownership of so many things by Chinese in Jamaica, like the road these people are talking about. And before I go to that road, let me highlight some of the areas that the Chinese people have taken control in Jamaica. I have already told you here in Kenya, we have them doing constructions of big roads, big hospitals, big projects. And I found that it is also happening the same way in Jamaica. They are very, very instrumental in the construction of big highway infrastructure of Jamaica. They have a lot of influence in the infrastructure of Jamaica. The Jamaican government has given the Chinese to take monetary contracts of the roads used by Jamaicans and the roads that are used by Jamaicans. And I've seen that they are also constructing 2 schools. By this time, I think the schools are over, because this is information that I got, which maybe it was for some times back. So there was construction of 2 schools being built by the Chinese people, construction of hospitals that were actually to serve the Chinese people. And it seems like the Chinese people have actually taken an upper hand in most of the projects in Jamaica. Because I also found something very, very interesting that I'm going to mention in this video. So, before I embark on the control of Chinese in Jamaica, because specifically today I want to talk about Jamaica and the control the Chinese people have over Jamaica, I want to say the colonial masters that were there before the independence of the Caribbeans and even Africa, they used to come and take control by force. They used to actually come and capture the nations, and they take control of everything. But the colonialism of today is done in a very, very clever way. Like, for example, the Chinese or China takes a global and localized approach to control nations. They use, or rather they practice, what we call the neo-colonialism. This is using economic and cultural forces and actually making the economy of a country to depend purely on them. And through that control of the economy, they exert control over an independent country that is used to be a colony. So in other words, they will not come armed and actually force people out of their nations. They will not come by force like the other colonial masters and fight to exert themselves in that nation. Instead, they prefer to come and look like they are solving the economic problems of that particular land by giving grants, by offering to do the constructions of the roads and then take control of those roads. And I want to say categorically, that is what happened here in Kenya. They were supposed to construct a highway that we call Mombasa Road Highway, and even the Nairobi Thika Road Highway. And when they were constructing Mombasa Road Highway specifically, they used their money to construct that highway, and then it was actually put some centers that people are supposed to pay toll money. If you use that road, you are supposed to pay money for that road, and that money goes directly to the Chinese investors. It does not benefit the country. And that is what I was talking about. They make sure they control the economy of that land, that you'll purely be relying on them to be given grants and loans for them to take over the projects in the assumption that they are helping you to construct, but in the long run, they are going to get a lot from you people. And I'm going to show that in Jamaica, how they have taken a lot of ownership to most of the land in Jamaica because of this agreement between them and the government. So they want political and economic power through investments and pressure the land they are living, or the government of the day in that land, to actually give them this power the economic power and the political power. I want to start by talking about Jamaica. In 1972, Jamaica recognized one China policy. So this is done slowly by slowly, and a country may not realize what they are entering into. Before the Jamaicans entered into one China policy, they had gone through economic crisis. Where did this economic crisis start from, so that Jamaica can invite investors so that they can be able to build projects in the land of Jamaica? I want to start by saying, in 1969, Henry Manley was the Prime Minister of Jamaica. And therefore, he ruled Jamaica until he was sick, and due to sickness, he resigned. And when he resigned, the son, Michael Henry, took over. And when he took over, after a short while, the father passed away. And because he was just to stand in for the father, after the passing on of the father, he was actually catapulted to be the Prime Minister of Jamaica. And this young Manley came with a mindset to actually free Jamaica from the foreign powers, from the foreign influence in terms of the economy. And therefore he thought whatever he was doing, he was actually setting Jamaicans free from foreign powers and foreign influence. But unto him, because he put Jamaica in a very tricky situation that made Jamaica to rely on foreign investment for a very long time. What did Michael do? Michael went and borrowed a loan with IMF, International Monetary Fund. And this is actually the body where African countries borrow loan from. And these people, when they are giving loan, by the way, I usually ask myself, why are they so quick to give a loan to a country that is going down and down and down economically? Because if you want to control people, you have to make them completely rely on you, completely depend on you, completely to have a no way out. And therefore, you will find that most of the African countries are actually relying on IMF and World Bank. Because the minute you borrow loans from these people, you keep on paying with a lot of interest that it is very, very hard to come out of it. And therefore, Michael Manley thought that he was liberating Jamaicans from foreign power and foreign influence. And therefore, he borrowed a loan, I think of 72 million US dollars. And this did not set free Jamaicans' economy crisis. And therefore, Michael Manley was removed from power in 1988, I think in 1980. And this impact of the loan that was borrowed from IMF continues to make Jamaica rely on foreign grants, foreign loans, and that is why the Jamaican government actually joined, or rather recognized, the One China policy in 1972. And this recognition means becoming one of the first Caribbean English-speaking countries to recognize this One China policy. Through this China policy, China became the largest investor in the island. They became the main investors in the island. They constructed an embassy in Kingston. That was the first milestone of settling in Jamaica. Sorry. So after the Chinese constructed the embassy, they were now settled because they have an embassy in Jamaica and they have taken control of being the largest investors in the island. It moved partnership, because before then, China and Jamaica were actually partners in trade. So after this one China policy, they came from a trade partnership to injecting millions into the IRAD-wide projects. In other words, they took very wide projects in the IRAD and they took control of them, including construction of a stadium. Imagine, I didn't know this. When the Jamaicans came to the comment section, I didn't know that actually the Chinese constructed a stadium, a convention center, housing developments, and road constructions. All these projects, they came to their hands. They were supposed to undertake these projects in Jamaica. Trade between Jamaicans and Chinese had actually climbed to 58 million US dollars. In other words, the trade between the two countries rose at a very high rate. In the 21st century, Chinese government loans and grants have risen to well over 80 million US dollars. The loans and grants they have given to Jamaica. Actually, this is a very, very high figure. And I told you, I started by telling you, when a Chinese comes to the RAD, they do what we call the new colonialism. They want to control the economy. They want to control the culture. And to do that, they have to make sure you borrow a lot of loans and grants so that your economy goes, actually depends on them. So at the moment, it was well over $880 million that was in loans and grants from the Chinese people. This actually is a significant, large investment in terms of Chinese investing in Jamaica. So this investment, they have some investments they have done together with the government of Jamaica, and they own these investments together with the government of Jamaica. In other words, there are some projects that the Chinese joined hands with the government of Jamaica, and they belong to the two nations. But there are some projects and investments that belong purely to the Chinese people. They are privately owned by Chinese entrepreneurs, including the China Harbour Engineering Company. This is a very large company. It is actually the largest China investment company in the area. And you'll find that this company, which is Czech, that is the abbreviation, the China Harbour Engineering Company, or Czech. So wherever I talk about Czech, I'll be talking about the China Harbour Engineering Company, because you're going to see it owns a lot of projects in Jamaica. So just like I have told you, the China Harbour Investment Company developed the first 4-lane highway from Kingston to Ocho Rios. And I told you guys, the people came to the comment section and complained about the construction of these projects that I had highlighted that the Jamaican government has undertaken. And they told me, R.A.M, these projects are being done by the foreigners. So we can see here that the China Harbour Development Engineering Company took the first 4-lane highway from Kingston to Ocho Rio, known as the North-South Highway. And I hope you remember me shooting about the projects that have been undertaken by the government of Jamaica. This is one of them, the North-South Highway. So it is actually a project that is being done by Chinese. I hope by now it is completed, for actually $600 million US dollars. There is a video I shot about the cost of each and every project that is being undertaken in Jamaica, and therefore this road is actually estimated to cost $600 million US dollars, and it is under the Chinese investors. in return for constructing this road and for agreeing to invest in Jamaica in terms of financing the project and also the construction. So they are supposed to give money for this construction to be done and also do the construction themselves. They are financing and they are constructing. In return to all this, they were given 1,200 acres of land. And this land is not just a land anywhere. It is a land which has lucrative real estate in which the cake, or rather the Chinese what? The check, the one I told you I'll be talking about this company, intends to build hotels and other facilities that cater to the Chinese market. So they are actually doing their own investment in Jamaica in this 1,200 acre lucrative land. What effect will this have to the Jamaican residents? Actually, this project will not benefit a lot of Jamaican people, but it is going to actually somehow drain their pockets because they have to pay. Apart from this 1,200 acre land, I'm sure the Chinese government are also getting the payment for the loans, or rather the money they have used to construct the road and also the manpower to construct these roads. And you can see that it is very, very sad when actually we come to a point whereby we cannot be able to grow our economy on our own. We rely on the foreigners to come and help us to grow the economy. That is actually the same problems that we are having here in Kenya, in Africa. The other day, I was actually shocked that our airport was being sold to an individual in the name of Adani, somebody like that. And when I was going through this stuff to investigate the how much influence Chinese have on Jamaica, I realized that there is a country in Africa that actually sold their airport to the foreign people. And when you sell your own airport, or rather even here, because I'm going to tell you that the Chinese own a harbor in Jamaica, they also own so much that I'm going to highlight. When they own a harbor, anything can enter the land and leave the land. You cannot be able to sieve what enters the land and what leaves the land. Same case applies to the airport. When the greediness of the leaders reach this level, you cannot be able to control what comes to Kenya and what goes outside Kenya. Then that is why we are actually our own enemies. We are our own enemies in terms of returning ourselves to slavery. So when I was preparing this, I actually looked at our nation and I found that Jamaica are not even that worst. Jamaica really tries to prevent a lot of foreign influence in their land because Jamaicans don't keep quiet. They will shout and say no. But here in Kenya, we are actually coward into keeping quiet while things are going and going and going, and people are just enriching themselves with what belongs to the common man. It is very, very sad. And that is why I thought of shooting this video, because we all love Jamaica. We all love Jamaica, and we know Jamaica can actually be the horn of salvation to the Africans. They are able to shout on top of their voices when there is oppression, when there is bad governance, when there is when there is all that is done to humanity. And therefore, we would not want them to reach where Africa has reached, whereby we have to completely rely on foreign grants and foreign loans to run our economy. Jamaica can do better than Africa because I believe they have the ability, they have a strong voice because they have talked and they have been heard by people. Therefore, it's a high time we fight against the control of our land, the control of our economy, the control of what God has given us and made us to actually be free so that we can defend what we have with a lot of jealousy, with a lot of power, with a lot of strength. I know Jamaicans cannot allow their country to go far into being colonized because I'm sure they have measures they have planned to undertake to actually remove themselves from the hands of the colonial masters. And at one time, I saw Jamaicans actually demonstrating against Chinese influence in Jamaica. Here, even when they do what in Africa, no one demonstrates, no one talks. And therefore, that is why I'm saying, I hope Jamaicans stand firm and refuse a lot of influence of the foreign masters. So, to go on with the video, I say that I'm going to highlight some of the areas where Chinese have taken control in Jamaica. So these are some of the places that the Chinese investors have taken control in Jamaica. Remember, I've said there is the 1,200-acre land where they intend to build hotels and to actually build the facilities that cater to the Chinese market. So remember that one as I go on with the list of control of Chinese people in Jamaica. So guys, like I have said earlier, they control the northern highway from Kingston to Ocho Rio. In France, they influence infrastructure in Jamaica. The Jamaican government has given the Chinese to take monetary control of the roads used by Jamaican people. I think I had said that. So they are actually constructing the roads, most of the roads that are being constructed in Jamaica. They are also constructing schools and hospitals in the land of Jamaica, and they are also in control of the foreign. They also control more than $1 billion in highway projects in Jamaica. I think I've said that in infrastructure. So they are actually their company is the greatest investor in Jamaica. Apart from that, the China Merchant Port Holdings ownership of the Port of Kingston. So they actually own the Port of Kingston, and I said at one point that this is actually a risk to the land because anything can enter and anything can go out of Jamaica without the government involvement, because after all, the port belongs to them. It's just like the example I gave of actually selling the airport to foreigners. You don't know what can come in and what can go out of your land. So they own this Port of Kingston, and they are also, it is said that the China Humber Engineering Company, the one I had talked about, the Czech, is constructing a port in La Brea. La Brea, I think, is a region in Jamaica. The Jamaicans in the house will tell us. So the China Humber Engineering Company, which we found, is actually the largest investor in Jamaica, and they are constructing a port in La Brea to increase the exportation of gas from Trinidad and Tobago. So you can see a lot of influence in the land of Jamaica, and it is actually so sad that we have this happening. And therefore we hope the government of African people and also the Caribbeans, especially Jamaica, will take control. Even if they are given projects, the agreement should be checked properly so that they don't look like they are actually coming to colonize the land in pretense of actually helping the people who are there on the ground. The Chinese people, by the way, guys, if you don't know, they arrived in Jamaica as laborers. That is their first time to arrive in Jamaica. They were actually coming to work in the sugar plantations after the emancipation of the slaves. They came to Jamaica to actually work in sugar plantations. And it is said that they disliked the work and therefore they went back to their country. No, they actually remained in Jamaica and started small groceries all across the island. And this is the same thing that happens to Kenya. They came here to start construction of roads, and when they came here, they started even selling the second-hand clothes. I have also one time gone to buy second-hand clothes in a bale. I had taken someone, and where we were, it was actually the Chinese people. So they were invited to construct the roads, but they started small businesses. At one time, I remember Kenyans complained because the small businesses they do, they are actually being done by foreigners. So they actually come slowly until they can be able to control the land. And I hope before this reaches, the African leaders and the Caribbean leaders can actually depend on what is in their land to grow their economy. Because like Jamaica is so rich with gold, with oil, with agricultural produce, with so much beauty that attracts tourists. And by the way, guys, I also saw that the Chinese control most of the tourism industry in Jamaica. They own beaches that cannot be accessed by the common man because they are privately owned by these people. So it's a high time we defend what belongs to us. We actually defend with zealous what belongs to us and our leaders. Look for other ways to grow the economy, but not to borrow loans and borrow until the country is left at the mercies of foreigners for economic growth. So guys, that is all what I wanted to talk about today. Thanks for watching me once again. Bye bye and God bless.